Welcome to the Ghost Story Grandma channel. Today, Grandma will bring you a mysterious and eerie tale. Get ready for it. The Haunted House of Blackwood. Blackwood lies deep within the northern forests of Vermont, where winding trails weave through ancient oak trees. This small town was once bustling in the 19th century, but gradually became abandoned after a series of mysterious disappearances. On the outskirts of town, atop a barren hill, stands an old house with peeling paint and windows boarded up with rotting planks. The locals call it the Blackwood House. No one dares to go near it after the last family who lived there vanished without a trace in 1978. Four young individuals, Ethan, Olivia, Jake, and Sophia, decided to uncover the mystery of the house. Olivia, a freelance journalist, was obsessed with the strange stories surrounding the place. Ethan, a young historian, was eager to explore unsolved mysteries. Jake, a photographer, wanted to capture every shadowy corner of the house. Sophia, the most pragmatic of the group, only agreed to join because she didn't want her friends to go alone. On an autumn afternoon, they parked in front of the house's rusted iron gate. The air was unnervingly cold despite the sun still shining. As they stepped through the overgrown weeds, an eerie silence surrounded them. The front door was unlocked. Ethan pushed it open gently, and it creaked as it swung, revealing a pitch-black interior, as if swallowed by darkness. Jake raised his camera and took the first shot. The flash illuminated a thick layer of dust covering the wooden floor. Olivia picked up an old leather-bound journal from the table. The scrawled words on the first page sent a chill down her spine. No one ever escapes from here. A sense of unease crept over them, but they continued their exploration. Everything in the house seemed hastily abandoned. Furniture was overturned, dishes lay shattered. On the living room wall, a family portrait still hung, but their faces had been violently scratched out. Olivia took a picture with her phone. When she checked the image, a dark figure stood silently behind them. A cold wind blew through, despite no windows being open. The door behind them slammed shut. Their phones all lost signal at once. From deep within the dark hallway, a whisper echoed. The darkness inside Blackwood House was thick, swallowing even the faint beams of their flashlights. Olivia tried to stay calm, staring at her phone screen. The photo she had just taken was still there. The shadowy figure stood right behind them. No one remembered an extra person being in the room. Ethan stepped toward the door that had slammed shut, but it wouldn't budge. Jake swept his flashlight toward the hallway, and the beam stopped at a cracked wooden door. A faint sound came from behind it, like bare feet dragging across the wooden floor. No one wanted to open it, yet the prolonged silence only made the air heavier. Olivia placed the journal on the table and flipped through the pages. The writing was chaotic, some words bold, others faint, as if written in a state of panic. A loose page slipped out from between them. It had only one short sentence: "Do not open the bedroom door upstairs." Sophia glanced at the dusty wooden staircase leading to the second floor. There were no signs of movement for years. Yet as they listened, a sound drifted from above. A door creaking open, its rusty hinges groaning. No one spoke, but they all understood. Somewhere upstairs, a door had just opened on its own. Jake forced a laugh, saying it was just the wind. No one responded. Olivia stuffed the note into her pocket and turned to Ethan. He nodded, as if deciding to press on. The group climbed the stairs slowly, each step causing the wood to groan beneath them. On the second floor, 3 doors stood before them. One was slightly ajar, thick darkness pooling inside. Sophia hesitated, unwilling to go further. Olivia raised her phone and aimed the screen toward the hallway behind them. For a split second, she saw a small figure standing in the middle of the staircase, staring directly at them. She spun around, but the stairs were empty. Saying nothing, she gestured for Jake to take a picture. When they checked, the frame was blank. Ethan placed a hand on the ajar door and pushed it open. The room inside was empty, except for a bed draped in a white sheet. A black, smeared stain marred the center of the fabric. Long, deep scratches ran across the walls, as if someone had clawed at the wooden surface in desperation. Olivia stepped inside, her gaze landing on a tall mirror standing in the corner. Its glass was coated in dust, but as she wiped it clean, the reflection was wrong. In the mirror, aside from the 4 of them, another figure stood among them. pale-faced with deep, sunken black eyes. Olivia held her breath, paralyzed. Jake raised his camera and snapped another shot. The flash burst through the dim room. In that instant, the reflection changed. The figure was no longer standing beside them. It was directly behind Olivia. A cold breath ghosted against her neck. Without turning, she whispered Ethan's name. Jake's flashlight flickered and died. The room was swallowed by darkness. A faint, distorted laughter echoed from the corner. It wasn't from any of them. Sophia gripped Jake's arm tightly, trying to steady her shaking hands. When the light flickered back on, the mirror was shattered. Among the scattered shards on the floor, one fragment still reflected the room. But instead of 4 people, there were 5. Footsteps echoed down the hallway. No one wanted to stay another second. Ethan grabbed Olivia's arm, and the group bolted down the stairs. But as soon as they reached the first floor, the door leading outside was gone. Ethan lunged toward where the door had once been, his hands slamming against the cold wooden wall. No exit, just a blank, lifeless surface. Olivia stumbled backward, her breath tightening in her chest. Jake swept his flashlight across the room, illuminating every dark corner. No windows, no other way out. Sophia clung to Jake, her eyes fixed on the staircase leading to the second floor. The footsteps continued above, slow, steady, never stopping. Ethan turned sharply, scanning the room. There was another door at the end of the hallway. The group moved toward it, their steps quick and urgent. Olivia grasped the doorknob and pushed. The door swung open, but instead of leading outside, it revealed an old kitchen, its furniture blanketed in dust. A hanging light swayed slightly, though there was no wind. On the dining table, 4 chairs were neatly arranged. The 5th was toppled over on the floor. Jake raised his camera and took a shot. When he looked at the screen, his stomach clenched. There was a figure sitting in the chair near the window. No one in the group had taken a seat. He stumbled backward, colliding with Olivia. She turned, her gaze locking onto an old photograph hanging on the wall. The image was faded, but she could still make out the faces of a family, a man, a woman, and 3 children. She reached out and brushed her fingers against the glass. The moment she touched it, the frame slid off the wall and shattered against the floor. Ethan crouched down, picking up the photograph. As he examined it closely, his breath caught. The children's faces had been violently scratched out, leaving only deep, jagged marks where their features should have been. Sophia shook her head. "We need to leave," she whispered. Jake agreed, but none of them knew where to go. The footsteps upstairs never stopped, never sped up, never slowed down. Just an endless, ceaseless pacing. Olivia pulled open a nearby drawer, searching for anything useful. Inside, she found a small notebook. The first page bore a hurried, scrawled message. "We can't leave if someone is watching." She froze, her eyes darting around the room. Jake's flashlight beam landed on a small window across the kitchen. Outside, there was nothing but darkness. No moonlight, no street lamps, no sign of Blackwood town. Just a vast, endless void. No trees, no roads, no world beyond the house. Sophia clamped a hand over her mouth, struggling to suppress a rising panic. Ethan gripped her wrist, trying to steady her. But just as they turned to leave the kitchen, another sound echoed through the house. It was no longer the footsteps upstairs. It was knocking. Slow, deliberate, right behind them. 3 knocks. Slow, deliberate. The kitchen door trembled slightly, as if someone was standing just beyond it. No one dared to move. Olivia gripped the notebook tighter. Ethan stepped back, pulling Sophia close. Jake raised his flashlight, his hands unsteady, the beam flickering as if the darkness itself was swallowing the light. Then the door swung open. No one stood there. But the space before them had changed. The hallway was gone. In its place was the upstairs room they had just fled. The shattered mirror still lay on the floor, shards glinting in the dim light. But the reflection in the glass was no longer their own. There were 5 figures in the mirror, yet only 4 had faces. The 5th stood in their midst, a warped, faceless shadow stretching unnaturally between them. Olivia stumbled back, but the mirror's image didn't shift. The figure remained, motionless, watching. A cold hand settled on her shoulder. The touch was real, flesh and bone pressing into her skin. She felt it, but she didn't dare turn around. Ethan let out a shaky breath, muttering something under his breath. Jake glanced at the screen of his camera. His heart lurched. The last photo he had taken, only 3 of them remained. The kitchen window reflected nothing but a void of endless black. And as they watched, their own reflections began to fade.